because we have a quorum. This is the business portion of the Town of Wellfleet Conservation Commission meeting for September 2nd. It's held pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Sections 18 through 25, as amended by Chapter 28 of the Acts of 2009, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Wellfleet Environmental Protection Bylaw and its regulations. This meeting is being held remotely pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Everyone is participating remotely. The first item on the agenda for the business meeting is the boat/vessel regulations. Given that Hillary's not here yet, we'll skip the conservation agent's report for now. So if, Michael, this was your baby, so to speak, so do you want to start us off?
Well, I think that it's actually a broader concern. I know Barbara was concerned about boats on all the various beaches. The Conservation Trust has one in particular that we're focused on, and that is the Old Wharf Point. But there's also other places where there are boats on conservation land. For example, Old Pier Road, there's a town landing, and there's boats despite the signs up in the resource. So the idea is, I think, to have some sort of an overall set of policies and actions in order to make sure that the resources are protected.
Okay. I know Omaha is another area where we see a lot of boats piled up.
Right, and Hillary mentioned last time that she was going to send something to the Homeowners Association, because it's also Field Point as well as Omaha. There are a lot of people who rent there and just dump their stuff on the grass every year. And there's no real policing of that, or I shouldn't say policing, but no one's really paying attention to a lot of that. And the shell fishermen's boats have to be registered, and they're allowed to be somewhere there, but some of them are on the resource as well, and whether they should be on the resource or on the beach, or how they should be moored or identified is another issue, because some of them are just abandoned in different places. So these are some of the issues that I've seen just on the Indian Neck area.
Nancy, do you want to speak to that, to what you've seen in the Indian Neck area?
Yes, hi. I haven't seen, I guess my eyes aren't following that train. I'm not looking at boats everywhere I go unless they're out using dragger gear in the harbor. But I have been working, like I worked with Denny down at Old Wharf Point to make sure that one of our shell fishermen whose canoe was accurately identified was in a place that was acceptable. And I think probably nobody's really talked about this in a long time. And so maybe in the beginning people remembered, and then year after year it's like a game of telephone and you just kind of forget, oh, I think I put it here last year, or I think I put it there last year. I'd be happy to take notes on, I don't even really know what the requirements are, but I can certainly learn those and then communicate them to the industry. And my experience with them is, everybody wants to be doing the right thing. They're just either forgetful or didn't realize it.
I think the shell fishermen's boats have to have a sticker identifying who the boat is, and I don't know who even does that. Someone through Suzanne's office, or there's a boat, someone who takes care of the boat registry.
Well, yeah, I know that they have
kayak racks and boats too. I think he's.
So I think those stickers used to be issued from the Harbormaster for the shellfish folks.
Okay.
Is Will here? Will's here, right? Will Sullivan?
Yeah, I'm here.
Does that ring a bell to you?
Yeah, we used to put stickers on all and give them out stickers. But all boats are supposed to be tagged and identified to begin with, and that's kind of federal regulation. Not even that kind of supersedes us.
Right, and that was that orange sticker.
That is one that the Coast Guard came up with to get people to write their names on it, but a Sharpie does even better.
Just a Sharpie on the vessel itself, Will?
Yep. Yeah, Sharpie right on it with your name and phone number. That way, as soon as the high tide comes and they all wash out in the water, we don't spend hours and millions of dollars with the federal government doing search and rescue. Because if you ever listen to a VHF radio, you'll hear there's a yellow kayak floating around.
Okay.
And that will have a response of us or any other harbor master and the Coast Guard responding to look for that. So if you do mark it with a Sharpie and your phone number, then they can call you to see if you're actually out there or it just washed out in the tide and wind.
Will, I'm sorry, I don't know you. Are you working at the Harbormaster's office now? Are you the Harbormaster or?
Yeah, come on down, meet me.
Okay, I will. But my question is, I know that the shell fishermen and growers are allowed to keep vessels on the shore so they can get out to their grants, but some of them are being put on wetlands, on marshes and grasses and areas that are under our jurisdiction. I think they could go on the beach. I think they can be moored in the water, but I don't think they should be put in resource areas where some of them are. That's the question I have, the issue I have.
Okay.
I mean, that sounds like something I just would, maybe we could do a little tour and you can point out like, this is okay, this is not, even just to a couple of sites. And then I can put something together in the crier or my newsletter that I send out to everybody in the shellfishing industry in town and just bring them up to date on what the regs are and how they need to do it. And but that might be helpful, especially if I can look at a couple of different landings that are seen as problematic right now and just address that individually as well.
Okay, you can come to Field Point with me sometime, but it's more the recreational kayakers than the shell fishermen. There may be one or two of those aluminum crafts that the shell fishermen use, but there's a dozen kayaks for the people who are renting houses near the landings.
I know, 'cause I saw at Old Wharf Point too when I went down there. It was really just a bunch of people's kayaks. Yep.
Right.
Is this where racks are and there's not enough room on the racks?
No,
No.
this is where there are no racks or there are racks. It really doesn't matter.
Okay,
They're
so
just
why
there.
don't we make more racks?
We have tried that. They get washed away in some places. Some places are just so sensitive that the racks don't even last a couple of weeks. They get washed away.
So it's how to build a better mousetrap?
Or where to build it.
Mm-hmm.
I think where is the real question.
Right.
We've had our kayak rack there, and we take it down for the wintertime, but there being at Old Wharf Point, we take it down for the wintertime, but it's been there for 8 years, Bill. I don't know, something like that.
6 or 7.
I'm sorry, Bill, we can't understand what you said.
6 or 7 years, I think. We might go back to 2014. We have made a decision to limit it to 20 or 21 kayaks, canoes. The reason being is that it is a multiple resource area. It's private property, it's conservation trust property. But one of our goals is to use some of our property as recreational purposes. And that's used as a beach for people to swim and to have a long line of rack would greatly infringe on those people who like to walk along the beach and also sit there. And so we've made a decision that we started out with, I think, 30 feet, and we extended it to 40 feet. And we're also not interested in going up because, again, it's not that attractive, and it's a pretty area. So that's why we've made a limitation, and we now have, we do a lottery, and we restrict it to people just who have access to Old Wharf Road. And we're already double subscribed to the capacity we have. So that's been a problem for us because this year we had 15 what I would call unauthorized vehicles on dune grass. And we finally made the decision that they had to be removed, which we did.
What happened after the removal? Have you had any response?
A good number of people heeded the warning and took them away. But a week or so ago, we removed 6. And we moved it to a place on Old Wharf Road where we have a small parcel of land. Since that time, at least 2 of them have been retrieved, I would say. And we're not even sure whether 4 remaining have been abandoned as opposed. There's no ID on them, so.
Hillary,
We've not had,
I'm sorry. Hillary, is it possible for something in writing to go out through the beach sticker office with anyone who's buying a beach sticker saying that kayaks cannot be left on the beach and that the racks are filled, therefore you're going to have to bring your kayak and take it off when you want to use it?
I don't see why not. Suzanne is here with us, so we can ask her if that's reasonable. It seems reasonable. I would assume, well, I shouldn't assume anything, but I wonder if all those folks that leave their kayaks get beach stickers. I guess what I'm hearing is we don't want any boats left anywhere around the harbor that are not on a boat rack. Correct?
Unless
Well,
it's the shell fisherman's boat.
Unless it's the shell fisherman's boat, but it shouldn't be on a resource. It should be in a place designated by the harbor master. And also the harbor master has let people who have like boats on Powers Landing and other places to keep tenders on the beach there. And some of those aren't stored properly as well.
So the first paragraph in our regulation 2.05 says approval from the harbor master is required for leaving a vessel at any other town landing or on town property. So the harbor master is still a crucial part, you know, in the regulation.
Right, but some of the property could be resource, you know, or grass or marsh. So
yeah.
Danny, you were trying to say something. Please go ahead.
yeah, the town-owned land is actually pretty limited compared to all the private-owned land around the harbor.
Correct.
And there's a lot of, if I can call them that, offending kayaks that are on private land that are on the resource. And so you got to keep that in mind too. So,
Is the private land Wellfleet Conservation Trust land?
no, it's a very
private
minimal
property.
amount, very minimal amount.
right, I think that when we get an NOI or some reason to visit these properties, we have told people or asked people to remove their kayaks from the resource. And some of them have built kayak racks or moved them away. But unless we have some kind of reason to visit those properties, I don't know that we could go around and do anything. That's a question.
Well, they're violating your regulations.
I know.
Isn't that a reason?
How are we going to get onto their property? We can't trespass.
You don't have to. You can just kayak along the shore and take
Except
pictures.
we have to identify which piece of property and who. And it's not an easy topic for sure. I mean, we
think-
would spend all of our time chasing down small vessels on private property.
I think something might go to the Seasonal Homeowners Association, because a lot of those folks are involved, and letting them know about the importance of the resource and how the resource is actually protecting their property. And if they put kayaks there, it's going to be degraded and cause erosion on their property. Maybe that could be an educational component for the seasonal residents, a lot of whom have these kayaks on their property.
There's also, I think, this is the question of sort of incrementalism, where there is a boat, maybe legally because it's a shell fisherman, on the beach, and then other people see that and they put their kayaks there, not realizing that because there's no marker that this is a special shellfish approved vessel, that they can put it there, and then it just spreads. And it keeps going every day a little bit deeper into the resource, and so that there has to be some sort of way of making a line and saying, maybe from the beginning of the season, we're not going to let this happen.
Hillary, I guess what we could start with is to ask you to work with the beach department and with the Harbormaster to make sure that the shell fishermen's boats are appropriately tagged and that there's education so that they store their boats not in protected areas. The second thing would be that renters learn that they cannot use the kayak racks or the beach or the protected areas for kayak storage when they haven't signed up previously. And the third thing would be, I guess, a ticketing program that goes into effect at a certain point, which says, okay, your boat should not be here. If you don't move your boat in X days, we will move it for you, and the cost to retrieve it will be Y.
Are we talking just on town land at the moment? Or are you talking all over?
I think we start with town land, because I think if it's on private property that we have different notice issues.
Yeah, for sure.
If I could interject, obviously we're a major area, and Denny, correct me if I'm wrong, but because we own that property down at Old Wharf Point, and if we're allowing kayaks or any kind of boats up on the dune grass, we are the ones who are in violation of the CONSCOM regulation. And so we would be subject, and that's why we decided we must take action. If that's put forward to all private property owners who are along the water, that might wake them up to say, well, I rent my place, but maybe I shouldn't let people put their kayaks there. That's just a suggestion. But we've decided to take an aggressive stance finally, and hopefully we'll probably have to do a similar thing maybe at the beginning of every season. But quickly, I think the word will get out.
I might just say we really have not had any negative feedback from our confiscation activity. As Bill said, a lot of the people woke up and realized that they had a problem, and they took care of it themselves. So that was a matter of them having the knowledge. So.
Well,
I don't think you'd
rather have education and have people respond appropriately than have to go into some kind of penalty program.
For sure.
And I don't think you need to go on private property to see the fact that there is a violation and understand whose canoe it is or kayak. All you need to do is tell the property owner, hey, you've got a liability there. We can see it.
The renters aren't going to be concerned. It's only the people that own property probably that are going to be concerned.
Well, we really don't know the degree of renters versus property owners. There are a lot of property owners who feel like they can just do it because it's their land and don't understand that it's in your jurisdiction. So.
I have a question. So on our list of where we allow these things, we mention, Gold Pond, Indian Neck, Mayo Beach, Old Wharf Point, Pleasant Point, and Powers Landing. I think that I know there are boats located in other locations on town land that are not specifically called out on that list. Nancy, Will, or Suzanne, do you see boats and vessels on other locations when you're out on patrol? And if so, could you send that list to us so we can start to compile sort of the pieces of town land where this is happening?
Sure, that'd be easy.
There are a bunch of boats on Pleasant Point too, on town-owned land there.
And Lieutenant Island.
And
That's Audubon property on
Right.
Lieutenant Island.
Property.
But Audubon's in violation, so,
We've had this discussion with the Lieutenant Island Homeowners Association, and they say it's all under control. It's on the beach. It's not in the grass, and they have had this going on for years and years and years by the boathouse. More and more kayaks stretch out there all the time. It's a question of whether they're in a resource or on the beach or on the dune or where they are. But I think the Audubon has had this discussion with the Homeowners Association, and they didn't want racks. When we suggested racks there, they said, no, we have a system, we have it under control. But people who don't live on Lieutenant Island also put their vessels there as well. So,
is it directly on the beach?
I should take a picture. They're sort of leaned onto the coastal bank. They're on the beach, but they tip onto the coastal bank. So they're not flat on the beach. They're at an angle. So it is the coastal bank, I believe, that they're infringing on.
you can see it from a distance.
And there are good like 30 or 40 of them at least.
And they all get removed at the end of the summer?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And then I guess I would ask John, from an ecological perspective, the harm or the damage by leaving the kayaks on the beach, is that something we can, on the beach, I'm not talking about on beach grass, I'm talking about on the beach. Is that?
John, you're muted.
I just realized that. Okay, so it's kind of hard to say why, if there's no vegetation there, it could be because there just wouldn't be vegetation there even without the boats, but you can't really say that for sure. It depends where on the beach profile. If it's up high above mean high tide, there could be beach grass and sea rocket and other vegetation growing there if the boats weren't there. So I don't know. I think you just have to look at every site specifically and make a judgment. If there's no vegetation, it's really hard to say, it's sort of a chicken and egg thing. Is there no vegetation because there are no boats, or are we putting boats there because there's no vegetation?
And a lot of them have big cinder blocks there too as well. Right on
Holding the boats.
Holding the boats in
Yeah.
place.
it's unlikely that they're not on the bank for the simple reason that people don't want them washed away at high tide. I mean, if I were a kayak owner and putting my kayak on the beach, I would want it above the high tide line. And as soon as you put it above the high tide line, you're putting it in an area that's going to damage the environment. I mean, I cannot imagine people are putting their kayaks down where they'll be washed away.
No.
It makes no sense.
Another thought is, what about tagging all the boats after a certain date with a notice that says this boat is not in a proper place? These are the regulations in Wellfleet for where kayaks can be left. You're in violation of the regulations and your boat has to be removed as a starting point.
So we have the season in the regulations is from April 1 to October 31.
That's a long time.
7 months of the year.
That's a growing time for the grass too.
Denny or Bill, do you have a copy of what you put on people's boats, or you
Yeah,
put a sign or something?
Bill, you go ahead.
We in the past, we've had a sign saying that no boats should be left on the dune grasses.
Mm-hmm.
It disappeared this year, and we got it up finally in early August. We waited a few weeks. That sign indicated that they shouldn't be there and that they're subject to removal. I then made up a specific laminated sticker, if you will, specifying specifically that their boat was in violation and that it would be removed. And I laminated them and I taped them down on their vessel. And as I said, there were 15 of them. All but 6 disappeared a week later when we gave the final date.
I just remember.
So the message got there. So it was specific to our location.
Yeah.
But it could certainly be adapted.
Was anybody on the commission the last time we did this?
I was, yes.
Yeah, I think I was.
Do you remember how angry people were with the sticker? Like, it was like the sky was falling down. Like,
Can I interject?
Yeah.
Because I have a mooring and therefore I had a dinghy. It was not up on the dune. So whoever did that was not aware of what they were looking for in terms of what was being violated. So everybody got stickered. And that's, I was upset too.
Where was your dinghy?
So,
where was your dinghy? On the beach?
It was in the water, in the tidal area.
I think we need to do some site visits, and it's unfortunate that we can't, but I think site visits will be very revealing because each site is unique. And each site, like the Wellfleet Conservation Trust has their site, some is town property. Field Point may be state land, and I don't know if they want to put in their 2 cents or whether we have any jurisdiction over state land. So I think each site might have to be looked at. Powers Landing, a lot of them are in the parking lot, but some of them are on the beach.
So let's think about this. Can we try to site visit in 2 small, well, I guess I'm just trying to make that list of where we're going to site visit. So I don't think we need to go to Gold Pond. And Suzanne, if you could weigh in, Gold Pond, you guys have really well managed. So I think we can take that off the list of places we have to go. Indian Neck?
Indian Neck is a difficult area to manage because a number of the people who have moorings leave their vessels there and there's no identifying sticker. So in the interest of not irritating the mooring holders, we tend to make a judgment that we're not going to sticker or remove something that doesn't have a sticker because they're not provided with one. So it'd be really helpful to the beach department that wherever we are on the inner harbor, that the harbor master be willing to issue stickers that give them permission that are visible to my staff, and then we could manage it better and know which ones were just sort of plunked there.
Is the,
Lori, can I tack? I think it's important that we distinguish 3 types of vessels that we've got on the beach. We've got the tenders that are going out to boats that are moored in moorings. We
Yep.
have the oystermen, and then we have the kayaks. I think for the tenders that go out to moorings, the harbor master used to issue stickers to everyone who got a mooring. I know when I had a mooring on Powers Landing, I got a sticker from the harbor master for my tender to go out to my boat. So that's the harbor master's responsibility. And if the boat owners who have moorings don't have stickers, we should consider that a violation. And they should, and with a note, talk to the harbor master, make sure you have a sticker. That doesn't give them permission to put their boats on the dune or on grass, but it does allow them to keep a boat there. I don't think that's a problem. I think we just need to talk to the harbor master, make sure they're giving those stickers, and then, we can police that.
so John, we have Will Sullivan online. I think he's acting harbor master. We'll meet
I'm right
John. Just
I
so
actually
you know. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, we're not doing stickers, and actually, personally, from a standpoint which I think the Conservation Commission would agree with, plastic-coated stickers, we're kind of against that in this world. At least I feel that adding unnecessary things like, hundreds of plastic stickers to the environment, that's bad news. We don't need that. Again, a Sharpie on a boat, mark it with your name and number. We can look up everyone's name and number very easily through our database.
Do they have a permit number to do this, Will? Is there a
Permit number? They could put their mooring number right on it.
All right, that would be a good thing. And
Yeah, and
also-
every one of them is told that they are supposed to have their tender identified.
Okay, and the other thing is if you could make sure that they're putting the tender in the right place and not on a resource, which,
So do you have signs up telling them where to put it? Because everything I'm kind of listening to is sort of from the negative standpoint. And I think if we could kind of turn this around to a more positive approach and kind of guide people and give them that guidance. Like if you want people to place things in a certain spot, let's tell them and let them know. Let's put a sign up and kind of let them know this is the appropriate place to do it. Instead of telling them where they can't do it, let's tell them where they can do it.
no, I agree, but maybe there could be a way that when they have a tender and they register it with you, you can give them like a GPS or show them a map where they can put it, or tell them not to put it on the grass or resource.
Yeah, we do that. But if at that location you had a sign saying where you'd like them to have it, then that would be a simpler way to identify it for them.
Or what if we had like snow fencing in some places in addition to signage, like seasonally installed? Is that done at any site?
Snow fencing so they can't put their boats in certain locations, or?
Yeah, it's just an obstacle. They can't put their boat, they just can't go over there, and it just keeps people out of the dune as well. Have we thought about that?
Don't forget, the more boats you have on the beach, the less beach area you have for Suzanne to sell off beach permits.
Good point, good point.
Thank you, Jenny.
Sounds like we need a task force here.
But wait, can we just get back to I wanted to hear from Suzanne where on our list. So Indian Neck we want to go to. Mayo Beach, do we have boats at Mayo Beach? We have quite a few boat racks out there.
We have a lot of boat racks, and to my knowledge, there are not that many on the sand on the beach itself.
Okay, so Mayo Beach is okay. Old
Yeah.
Wharf Point, the Conservation Trust is handled, so we don't need to go there.
Right.
Pleasant Point is the one that we manage down at the end, and I haven't been out there in a bit, so I don't know what that looks like. So we'll put that on the list.
Yeah, that should, because people ask questions and I don't know the answers about Pleasant Point.
Are there other places around Pleasant Point where there are boats that anyone has seen?
Well, Barbara just mentioned one. So, and then of course, there is Omaha Road.
Omaha Road and Field Point.
Yep, I got Omaha Road.
Do you have Old Pier?
Old Pier is another one.
Yep, you need that.
Okay. Can I just get back to Pleasant Point? Where else in Pleasant Point besides the far end? Not at the landing.
Not at the landing. It's unfortunately. I
You know
know
what, Danny? At
I
the
know-
landing, if you go right, there are people that have boats on the marsh. Yes.
Yep.
Let's
Okay,
go.
so
And you can go all the way over to Whalebone Point, and you'll find boats along the resource too. But
Exactly.
the big area at Pleasant Point is off to the left.
yep,
going
I got
towards
that
the
one.
highway. Yep.
Okay, so, and then Powers Landing, obviously, we have to take a look there, even though there is a rack there.
Yeah, I think that Powers Landing is important because it's such a small town landing and such a narrow beach that, and it's those racks never move. Once people get a place on Powers Landing, they don't give it up. So there's not a lot of new spaces to offer people, and there's a frustration level there.
Okay, and Nancy Trivetta added Payne Hollow, which I've seen. So do we
There's
have
also, I don't know what it's called, but on the land side of the breakwater, there are some racks, and there are lots and lots of boats right along the shore there, near the parking lot for the breakwater.
In Chipman's Cove or on the harbor?
Just before you get into Chipman's Cove, right at the mouth of Chipman's Cove.
That's the Indian Neck Rack, right?
Well, that's the Indian Neck Rack, plus that's where the people who have received permission from the Harbormaster for their tenders to get to their moorings haul up.
Mhm.
And it's a popular and well-used area, and I think it would bear some looking at.
Okay, so I have Indian Neck, Pleasant Point, Omaha, Field Point, Old Pier, Whalebone Point, Powers Landing, and Payne Hollow.
Good start.
And there's the two different, I don't know, Denny or Bill, you know, the other side of Old Wharf Point, there's usually a boat or there,
Yeah,
right?
and we've talked to that person, and her kids are using it, and they put it in the grass, and we took it down, and so there is that area too.
I would add, I would add Lieutenant Island by the boathouse. It's worth a look.
I would too.
Okay.
And you'll see all you need to see from Old Wharf Point.
Of Lieutenant Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Of that particular.
Yeah, I've
issue.
seen that. I've seen that one, so I'm familiar with what that looks like. Okay, so as far as site visiting, I feel like the commission or Doug and I should have a look before we drag Nancy and Will or Suzanne to any of these spots, and we can see, you know, if there's identification on the boats, we can probably identify who belongs to a mooring and who is just a recreational kayaker. I don't know that we'll be able to identify a shell fisherman, but we could at least then get them into two separate piles of people.
Well, there's also there's yet another category, and that is the sunfish, sailfish that end up on the beaches pulled up pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
And those are not tenders, those are actual vessels.
Right, and I just want to point out that if you really wanted to see this, maybe 2 weeks ago would have been a better time because people are leaving and taking their stuff off. But there's still enough on there that you can get a sense of what's been happening all summer.
Or maybe Labor Day is when it's going to be really, really bad. Maybe that's a good time to check. Right? Or
a lot of the renters are gone who've taken these off.
Mhm.
So in some of the areas anyway, I know that at Field Point, at one point there were like 16 and now there are only 10 or 12, so that people have been leaving and taking them off.
Well, I think we can identify that we're not removing any vessels this year. I mean, I think what we need to do is get a game plan for next year. We're early enough to do that where we maybe get a bigger sign that says all boats must be on a rack or approved by the Harbormaster with your identifying information on them. No small boats permitted on the beach grass, and get those signs out there before people start coming. So like maybe in late March, early April, the signage is out there.
And reach out to homeowners associations maybe too.
And also, I think at the beach sticker office, we should have a notice about, maybe the people at the beach sticker should inform people about, because that's where your visitors are going to come, get their beach sticker.
But I think also to Will's point,
there, John, or something that gets handed out with the sticker, you know, a written statement, so that you'd have to read it.
but to Will's point too, I think we need to make clear where we want to see these tenders for the moorings, because we're not going to just allow kayaks. There's going to have to be a special spot for tenders that's identified for them to place them. But that could be difficult if we don't know the numbers of folks that have tenders at each of these locations, because that's something I have no idea. Or how big of a spot they need, or.
Will, do you know the number of people who have tenders?
On the back of the mooring application, you are required to give us the information if you are having a tender. So what we can do is get a number from them, and because they are required to tell us if they're going to have a tender.
Could you get us, Will, like the number from this year, how many people needed them this year, so we can kind of work with that?
Sure.
And do they also tell you what their tender is, like whether it's a rowboat or a kayak or a
Yep. Yeah, they're supposed to tell us like what type, color,
size?
Yeah. And we can also put in the requirements that on the tender itself, they can write their well, if they write their name, it's easy for us, but not easy for you. But if they write their permit number on that tender, you know, just under their name and phone number, then you can easily identify it to one of them.
Okay, so then back to the commission. Do all of you want a site visit to all of these locations? How do you want to take a look at this?
I want to go.
I want to
go.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think we need to go. We need to see what resources are being impacted.
If most of these places do have a parking lot, so we could all go independently and meet at the same time. We have a meeting on September 16th. We have a project done on Fox Island at the Wiseman property, so we'll be at Fox Island anyway. A Chequesset Neck Road project, Old Chequesset Neck Road, and a Holbrook. So do we want to try to maybe hit some of them on the 16th at the business meeting?
Or before?
Not at the business meeting, I'm sorry. We could try to go at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that we could go in the early afternoon on the 16th?
We would have to post it, but I'm not opposed to that. I don't know what early afternoon is, but
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. I guess I wonder if we'd have enough time.
Well, on the 16th, we're also talking about the DLTA, right?
Yeah, but I guess I kind of want to just lay some eyes on it. Not that I think it's different than what I've seen in previous years, but maybe just to see, you know, what those areas look like.
Well, we keep talking about the resource. It's sort of a euphemism. But I think what we're really concerned about is damage to vegetation.
Yeah. Yes.
Dune vegetation. So whoever goes on the site visit, besides looking at boats, if you could just take notes on what you see is, what you see as far as vegetation or remnants of vegetation. I think John Kumbler is right. If people are pulling their boats clear of the tide, they're probably plopping it on dune habitat with plants. And that's what we're trying to protect.
Can I just have a suggestion that might make things more efficient for you? And rather than all going to all sites, have one or two people go and take a series of pictures and post them somewhere where everyone
That
can look
lends
at them.
itself to Michael.
I didn't
Well,
He's our camera guy.
I can take pictures too. I've sent you pictures of Field Point many times.
Yep.
yeah, well, if we have a list, maybe we can then select ones that we're going to concentrate on individually, and we can take pictures, certainly.
Can we assign you each one or two, or?
Yeah,
Or
sure.
do you each have special places you like to go to? How about this? How about this? I will send around the list to all of you. If any of you have special places you like to go to or you visit a lot, just send me back an email and I will assign you each a landing or two within the near future, but I'll give you a few days to get back to me with the places you like to go or want to go.
And then maybe,
Good idea.
maybe we can send you the photos.
Yes, and we could put them up here for.
Share your screen when we have a business.
Yes.
Okay.
So why don't we put this on our agenda for October? Chris, do you hear that, so that we don't lose sight of it? And by then we'll have the pictures. It looks like October 7th is our meeting.
Yeah, because we're not going to do anything this year about it. So
Right, so,
that's
okay.
fine. We should get out there soon before people start removing everything.
Right.
Yes.
And we don't know what's happening.
So are we going to assign like 2 people to a site?
Maybe just one.
Just one? Okay.
And your instructions are going to be to photograph the vegetation and the boats and what you see.
Hillary, it's Suzanne. If I could make a suggestion.
Yes.
If people try to go at low tide when most of the boats are not in use, you would get the best picture of the number of boats that are there. If you go at high tide, then people might be out in their boats at that time.
Great idea. Great idea.
Yeah, very good idea.
Okay.
And
All
it's
right.
low tide at noon on the 16th. I just checked.
Hillary,
Yes.
I'm like Barbara at Field Point and Indian Neck almost every day, so I can do those.
Hillary, since we're adding things, I'm at Powers Landing fairly regularly, so I could take that one.
All right. Powers Landing goes to John Kumbler. Barbara, you too like Field Point. Do you like Omaha Road?
I could do Omaha. I could do Lieutenant Island, whatever you need. Let's see, Omaha.
What about Old Pier? You want Old Pier?
Well, I pass at Old Pier almost every day, so.
Okay, so Michael
could do-
Fisher.
So I'll do Omaha and Lieutenant Island.
Okay, and then we've got Pleasant Point, Whalebone Point, and Payne Hollow.
How about Indian Neck?
I'll do
Indian
Indian.
Neck, Debbie's taking.
Oh, okay.
You're doing Indian Neck and Field Point.
Yep.
What? That's fine.
All right.
Any takers on Pleasant Point?
Yeah, I'll do that.
That's you, Ben?
Yep.
Okay. We have Whalebone Point and Payne Hollow.
I can do something, so sign me up.
You want Whalebone Point?
Sure.
Okay.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Send you a map.
Hillary,
Yeah?
there is nothing at Whalebone Point.
Oh, there's nothing. Okay.
Between Whalebone Point and the
And the land,
landing, you'll
right,
find a couple
right.
closer to the landing.
Okay.
So that landing is at the end of Payne Hollow Road? Or-
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I
Alright.
think Payne Hollow, if you walk Payne Hollow to Whalebone Point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, you can look both ways.
Yeah.
when you come out from Payne Hollow.
Okay, so that's going to Leon. And if any of you can't get to your spots, let me know and I'm happy to go. I'm gonna probably take a look at some of them myself on my own just to have a look too. So I think that'll be good.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody who brought this to our attention, and we'll try to see what we can come up with and keep you in the loop so that you know what we're working on for next year. Jenny.
Can I just say that there is a new committee being formed? I think John Portnoy's on it.
No, he's not.
You're not, okay. Well, John Reel is on it, and I know they're looking at the public access issue. And I think there's a great deal of confusion between access and leaving your boat there. And I think that's one of the issues.
I've asked to be on that committee, Denny.
Oh, well, you're the one. Okay,
I've asked to be on it, yeah.
good. I
Oh,
hope so.
good.
Hello.
So we've got just a few minutes to cover the rest of the stuff in the business portion of the agenda. And going very quickly, John, I don't think we're going to get to the DOT tonight and the issue of Hawes Pond. That's come up when they come before us. But please keep that in front of all of us. If anybody has any thoughts on the DLTA regulations, please keep forwarding those emails to Hillary so that she knows and has a collection of all our thoughts on that. Barbara, you sent some information about the asphalt, which keeps degrading and falling off at Sunset Point.
Mhm.
We also have Mr. Way at 40 Hiawatha to make sure that he is coming back to us for his certificate of
His notice of intent.
intent. And we have the issues on the town warrant. So
I also sent something about styrofoam on floats that APCC is getting onto now, about all this styrofoam being found in ponds and wetlands now from people's floats. And various towns now passing regulations that if you have some kind of float or dock, it can't be on a styrofoam flotation system.
well, that should be with Hillary for the regulations that we're looking at with the DLTA.
Okay.
Hillary, you've got that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So on the town warrant, Hillary, do we need to give them a vote? I thought
Apparently, I could have sworn we have looked at these articles a number of times, but apparently that hasn't translated through to the warrant for some reason. So yes, I think we need to take a vote on them.
Okay. In the warrant, I don't know if you have copies of the warrant. I know everybody has received it, but Articles 27 and 28 are disposition of town-owned properties. And they were brought to us by the Open Space Committee. We already voted to approve both of these, but apparently the Board of Selectmen needs a voice vote approval for the meeting, the town meeting. So the first one is, it's not going to be particularly helpful. It's the property along Kendrick Avenue that we've looked at before. Thank you, Hillary.
Yeah, no problem.
Which is that property at the corner, which we voted to accept on behalf of the town and take into conservation. Can we have a motion to approve this for the purposes of town meeting?
I have a question. Did we vote not to do that because of,
Keller's Corner.
yeah,
I think we did. Now that you raised that, I think we said no on this one.
I just want to pull up the map so we can have
It's
a look.
It's the one where they dump all the rubble all the time.
Yeah, and it's full of rubble. It's Keller's Corner, correct?
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so that's an issue.
So we don't want that one.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, I don't think we want it because we'll be constantly fighting with the DPW, and they're going to come forth not too long with a rock revetment project. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the Conservation Commission approves a rock revetment on land under the care, custody, and control of the Conservation Commission.
But is that any reason why we shouldn't put it under our care and custody and say maybe no rock revetment and maybe no more rubble? I mean, we can fight the good fight here.
No, that's true.
Well, there may be a problem. There is a problem, I think, in stabilizing the road there if it's not nourished with something or armored with something.
But are we
Can you
condoning?
see the map?
Are
Can you
we,
open
are
it up?
we condoning that activity?
So are we talking about right by where it says Kendrick Avenue, or where the avenue is, that curve there?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I'm
Where are
trying
we?
to get us into the right spot here.
Not quite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right
so
here.
right,
Right there.
right.
So it's already town owned. I guess.
This is transferring it to our care,
Yeah.
custody, and control.
Hmm.
Which if it's in our care, custody, and control, Barbara's right, we do have a say over how it is maintained and treated.
But we have that similar say if it's under the care, custody, and control of the Board of Selectmen as well.
We do.
I don't know the value in taking a degraded piece of property into our control. I mean, I think no matter what, it's going to come before us for permitting in the not too distant future, and it needs to be cleaned up. I don't know.
So if we have a motion to take this into our care, custody, and control, and the vote is against, that's what would be published at the time of the town meeting.
Yes, they would state that before the town, voted.
So
As a recommendation.
what would you like to do about this piece of property?
It's hard to see the natural resource values of this. It's going to be a place where, with sea level rise, that road's going to be threatened. There's going to have to be some protection of the road, beyond our making sure that the beach is nourished. I'm not sure that happens now except with rubble. I don't know what we're protecting there.
I'm not sure what benefit we have to have it in our control. It's not like there's a trail or something that we're going to maintain nicely and make sure it's wild and free, or I don't know.
So if we take a vote on it and we vote no, we can state our position at the town meeting.
Yes.
I think that we had this discussion and we said no because of that reason.
I think we
I
did
think so
too.
too. But I think we have to take a formal vote now. So
You
could
need
I have
somebody to make a motion?
Yes.
I move that we vote whether to accept the Article 27 regarding the property at Kendrick Avenue.
Could I have a second?
Second.
What did Leon just move? I didn't hear that.
You vote that we accept the property. So you would vote.
That we would vote rather to accept it or not.
Okay.
So a no is what we want to say if we don't agree.
So Barbara, how do you vote?
No.
Leon?
No.
John Portnoy?
No.
Michael Fisher?
No.
Ben?
No.
John Kumbler?
I have to accuse myself because I'm on the Open Spaces Committee.
Okay, and I vote no. So it's 5 with 1 abstention. And then on 28.
There aren't 7 of you? There aren't 7 of you?
Yes.
So 6 with 1 abstention.
Oh, thank you, Hillary, my math.
Sorry. Sorry.
He's a
Okay.
lawyer, not a mathematician.
Article 28.
This is property along the north shore of Blackfish Creek.
Let's.
So that's right along Highway 6.
This is apparently Barrier Beach, Coastal Dune, and Salt Marsh. It's a 1.5 acre wetland area, which is tidal with upland beaches.
35-1, parcel 201, 209, and 210.
I think at our meeting, we voted to accept those.
Yes, I think we did. That was, isn't that where there was a transfer? No, I guess we voted to accept that, remember?
So this should be in our minutes. We shouldn't
Yeah.
have to vote again. We already voted.
I don't think we voted. I think it was just a consensus because I did not find a vote.
Okay.
And I think I asked because I felt like we had already talked about this too. And
Doesn't hurt for us to take a vote on this now.
I'm just
All
trying
right.
to find
Could I
the.
have a motion to accept the properties described in Article 28?
So moved.
Is
John,
there a second?
Second,
Second.
Okay, could I have a voice vote? Barbara,
yes.
John Portnoy,
yes.
John Kumbler,
Recuse myself.
Michael Fisher,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Leon,
Yes.
and Debbie, yes.
Okay, so 601.
Yes.
Okay. I'm
So
gonna
I think,
email that off to the moderator.
okay, unless there are jurisdictional opinions,
There are not.
okay, then we can close the business meeting and open the public hearing portion of the Town of Wellfleet Conservation Commission meeting of September 2nd. This is pursuant to the same laws, regulations, and statutes that were referenced earlier. It is also again pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order. The first hearing is Kavanaugh. Is someone here to speak to that?
Jason Ellis is the representative.
Okay,
Anybody else besides me go out there and look at it?
We did.
Was I mistaken or was nothing staked? Or,
No, there was nothing staked.
so I think if they come back, someone should inform them. I told them, but who knows what then. They need to have it staked and explain. I mean, they basically said, well, that's where the old septic system is and we're going to move it over here. And that was about the help I got.
Okay, so Hillary, should this be continued?
Well, if there's nobody here to speak on it, then yes. Is it just barely 5 o'clock or is it?
5:04.
5:04.
Do we want to leave it open for a little bit and see if Jason joins us?
Sure, we could pass it. If
Yeah,
that's
let me
acceptable.
see if I can send him a text and see if he
Okay.
can.
Can I just say, if it wasn't staked, I mean, it was okay for me, but I think the committee may say we shouldn't hear on it until it's staked.
It absolutely should have been staked. It is a septic upgrade. I don't know. I feel like we can approve it. Doug and I were out there. But again, we probably want somebody present to talk about it with us because it is a sensitive site.
It's also more than a septic update. They're also connecting it to another building that wasn't connected before.
Yeah.
So it seems like it should be, we should have someone here at least who can,
Yeah, for sure. for sure.
All right, so we'll pass Kavanaugh, 80 Peace Valley Road.
Oh,
map-
Jason said he's here. He's muted. So let's see. Let's try that. Jason, you 20237. I'm trying to unmute you and I can't. Let's see. Jason, can you try unmuting? Oh, there you go. Jay?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so this is just a septic upgrade. The only portion of the project that's in the buffer zone is just the tanks that are in the driveway. There's 2 new septic tanks proposed and a pump chamber. Got them in the northernmost part of the driveway to get as far away from the resource area as possible. The leach area is all outside the buffer zone. And the leach area is actually where the existing septic system is for the main house. So it's a very simple project, very minimal disturbance, short-term disturbance. Once they set those tanks in there, everything would be backfilled and pretty minor. So. I didn't stake the tanks out. I figured that you'd be able to see that they were in the driveway there. So, and I didn't want to impede their ability to park in the driveway and whatnot. So.
Does the fact that, Ms. Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes, John, please go ahead.
Does the fact that the proposed pump chamber and the proposed septic tank north of the cottage lie within the flood zone have any bearing on this?
Are you asking me or?
I'm asking either you or Hillary or both of you, I guess. Are there any special rules?
No, there's no special rules about being in the flood zone, so it's not uncommon to have tanks in the flood zone. So.
Okay.
It doesn't require any Board of Health variances. I think
Nope.
it is approvable, even though there weren't stakes there, and I think Jason will stake in the future, but the option is yours.
Does anyone else have a question about this project?
This isn't the nitrogen reduction system, is it?
No.
Okay.
Can I have a motion if people are comfortable?
I move that we approve it, 80 Peace Valley Road, map 8, parcel 234. RDA is a -3.
Is there a second?
Leon seconds.
Okay, someone did.
We need a voice vote. Barbara,
Yes.
Leon,
Yes.
John Portnoy,
Yes.
Ben Fairbank,
Yes.
John Kumbler,
Reluctantly, because it's not an alternative system, yes.
Mike Fisher,
I abstain because the trust is in the butter.
and Debbie, yes. So you're all set.
Everyone should
Thank you.
sign the RDA form that came in the packet for the project.
Thank you, Barbara, and return that to Christine Bates as quickly as you can. All right. The next hearing, I'm just trying to get my form out, is for Boehringer 164 Cliff Road, map 24, parcel 100. The notice of intent to construct a new foundation, move dwelling to foundation, construct a new deck, and move portions of the septic system. Is there anyone here on this project, please?
Yes, both Bob Behringer and David Little are on the call.
Hello, David Little. I'll start off, but I'll turn it over to Bob shortly because he's going to be the general contractor for his own project, and he's lived at this, not lived continuously, but he's been at this site for at least the past 12 years to experience the erosion that's occurred.
Okay, before you start, just one point. Is there anyone who feels uncomfortable proceeding with this without a site visit and being able to talk to the experts on the site? Or do you feel familiar?
Is that normally, if we were asked to be at the site for a site visit, we certainly would have done that.
No, I'm not saying you did anything wrong at all.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just the situation given Governor Baker's order with remote meetings that I'm inquiring about. I want to make sure that everybody feels that they have enough information. That's all. I'm not criticizing you at all.
Well, apparently some people did visit the site today.
I did.
I did.
Thanks, Hillary. Thanks, Leon. Appreciate it.
I've been at the site. I just can't tell how much of the project is in 50 or the 100. I don't see the markings. Maybe I'm missing something on the plan, but I don't see the buffer zone outlined here.
David, can you share your screen? Do you have this electronically? If you could walk us through it, maybe with the screen sharing feature, that might be easier.
I don't have the ability to bring it up, Hillary, on my screen. Do you? I did send you an electronic copy.
Okay, let me pull that up then. Hold tight.
Hillary, if you can't, I may be able to as well.
And Barbara, if I could answer your question, I got so caught up in all of the other information, it does not reflect the 50 and 100 foot buffer. So that would have to be added to the plan.
Yeah,
you are correct that it's not on it.
Okay.
It does say that the corner of the house is 47.6 feet from the bank, which means the whole front of the house is within 50.
But that's a minor revision. I certainly expect that you may need some additional information. If not, I could certainly provide you or Hillary with a revised plan showing that if we're fortunate enough to get through this in one hearing this afternoon.
All right, Dave, I can't find it from you. Bob, can you screen share here?
Let me see. I should be able
If not, if
to.
one of you could just, Bob, if you could email it over to me, then I could screen share it.
Okay.
It just makes it easier if we can point to things on the site plan and look at them.
Make sure I have the right thing I'm wanting to send.
Do the commissioners have paper copies?
Yes. Sometimes we like to all look at the same thing at the same time, David.
No, I get it. I get it, Hillary. I understand.
Especially if it's complicated, if we could just point and use the clicker to, get us there.
I can start while Bob's doing that, just with some general descriptions, if that would be okay. So this site has been, the house was originally constructed in '55, so it's been there for a significant period of time. And as you are all aware, the coastal bank in this area is eroding, some areas worse than others. I represented Melinda Crasting many years ago before you, and unfortunately, she went through the process of removing her house, and she only had a couple of years to live in it. It was very, very sad. She still has a very small deck that you probably drove by when you went to visit the site that she uses to go and visit her property. But Bob's site is a little bit different because it's in a valley, so to speak, in that he does not have a significant bluff between the house and the beach. And what we are proposing, and we've gone into this in detail, or Bob has in the narrative, is to install a new foundation, pick up the house, put it on the new foundation, remove the existing amphidrome components and septic tanks, and replace them with a new IA microfast septic tank with the microfast component in it, further away from the top of the coastal bank, and that's shown just north of the proposed dwelling or just west of the existing dwelling. So Bob's trying to get as many more years out of this property that he can. He does have the use of a finished walkout basement, and so he wants to make use of that with a new concrete foundation. And he's proposing to keep a little bit of the old foundation, which would be located just south of the existing leaching facility and west of or in north of the proposed dwelling, to protect the septic system for a period of time as long as he can. The existing location of the proposed soil absorption system is going to remain. I think Hillary's aware, and I know a few of the other commissioners are aware of the site. Bob's done a lot of things to infiltrate both stormwater runoff and stabilize the bank to get as much life out of the property as he can. We did stake the limit of work, and we did stake a few of the house components, as much of the house components and deck as we could that we were able to stake on the site. This is obviously going to have to go to the Board of Health, and it's obviously going to have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals. As Bob pointed out, the new dwelling, we're moving it back as close as we feasibly can to the middle line of Cliff Road, which he has ownership to. We're only 1 foot off that. We don't have the ability to go into the other side of Cliff Road because it's owned by the property owner to the west. So we are trying to move it as far westerly as we can. The site will be restored as Bob noted in his construction protocol. And so that being said, you are the first stop. We have a couple of other local agencies we need to go through for this. But I'm going to turn it over to Bob. Bob's been hands-on with this property ever since he's owned it, as Hillary and some of you are well aware. So that would be all I have to say at this point in time. Thank you.
Hillary, you're able to see the screen share?
Yes, we can see the screen share. Thank you.
Okay. So what questions might all of you have at this point?
Barbara, Deborah, can I speak?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm very sympathetic to the fact you need to move that house and you need to move it quickly, very quickly, as you note. My concern is you still are, given a huge, nor'easter or hurricane or something, even the new location may, within a very short period of time, be threatened. What plans do you have to remove the debris that, like the wall that you're keeping in the basement in the future if we have still more significant erosion along that bank?
John, I'm working the assumption we will definitely, and this is really term duration as far as the project goes. The wall that's intended to be retained, which I don't know if you can see my cursor or not.
I see
moving along this. That section is really as a retaining wall, and by the time the leach field is compromised, if I just take this, the coastal bank and just project it backwards, at that point I'm limited to either going for a variance and requesting that I could move the leaching field here, or going to a closed tank. The next step after that is the property will no longer be functional. So, in my mind, this is a 10 to 15 year prospect if I'm lucky, and it could be 5 years.
Right.
It's it's a gamble no matter how you cut it. And I'm in a corner, so I'm trying to plan myself out.
I feel that we are, the better alternative is to have you move that now rather than let further damage to the bank and then the whole thing start to fall down. And that's a problem for everyone.
And as Hillary knows, this deck that was here is still present, but I removed 8 feet of it this spring to bring it further back away from the coastal bank so we wouldn't have it collapsing onto it. So we were able to do that fairly quickly with minimal damage. And I've already supported these stairs with another structure underneath here that effectively provides cantilever support for the stairs when that gets undercut. So, I feel like I'm Napoleon's army retreating here. I'm just basically pulling things back to the best I can. But at this point, we're about 10 feet from the corner of the house to the edge of the coastal bank here. And yeah, one good storm this winter will put it right up to the edge of the foundation.
What has been the erosion rate there? I know you have different instances of erosion along your property, but is the erosion rate accelerating?
We had, the average that's listed going back to 1850 for this section is 2.7 feet per year. The nor'easters of 2012 took 25 feet in 1 year, and that's when Melinda lost her house effectively. We do have on here, I believe, let me see if I can zoom this in. The difference between these two lines here, that's right, or I may be off on that. The last couple of winters have been really modest in terms of what's been lost. So if I come up here, you can see that the delta between here, which is 2018, and here's this January, that distance is about 3 feet over 2 years. So, it's a crapshoot. We'll have nothing to speak of. It'll go back to the 2.7 for a couple of years, and then we'll probably have 10, 20 feet lost. But there's always the anecdotal evidence that people say that some houses are where they are, as mine is right now, and it can last 15 years, and then it's one season that you lose everything that's a buffer.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Barbara.
I'm totally sympathetic and supportive of your idea of moving this house away, close away from the bank. I really would like to see where the 50 and 100 is here, and it looks like the proposed deck may be entirely within the 50, and I'd rather see that area vegetated with beach grass or something that will prevent further erosion than a deck there, which will shade any vegetation from growing. Those are my initial comments without seeing where those 50 and 100 lines are.
Yeah, the distance from this, which is the tightest choke point between the existing coastal bank, is 47 down here because it opens up in a wedge. This is more on the order of 55 feet. But yes, your point is that this deck could easily be moved off to around the side, perhaps, and reducing the amount of extension that's over this space. This whole space here, and this is one of the things that it's always a challenge, is because this is a full foundation, we'll be cutting and removing all the sand and the footings that are in place here. The more you remove, the more you're disturbing of that top glacial deposit. I don't want to go any deeper if I can help it, because I don't want to just disrupt anything that's below that grade level. So whatever the grade is, we're down probably 3 feet to the footings. And everything below that will be left untouched.
So, Bob, is that deck, is that at the first floor level? It's not at the basement level?
That was supposed to be first floor elevated, yes.
So Barbara, that's elevated about 8 feet off the ground, and it could be planted underneath, and it would have the opportunity to have sunlight penetrate, and we could plant with beach grass below it, I believe. Could we not, Bob?
We could. I'm very happy with the notion of taking this and just having a wraparound and then putting more of the decking off to the side here where it's further away from the coastal bank.
Now, I think
if need be.
our stance has been no construction in the 50. If I'm mistaken, please correct me about that.
No, you're correct.
No new construction.
If you're amenable to moving it around to the side, I think I totally support that. The problem with the deck being 8 feet and grass growing under it is you rent to tenants, and tenants are going to put beach stuff under there. They're going to put, you know, their junk under there in the meantime, storage bikes and things. I just like the idea of moving the deck. I think it's better for you and it's better for protection of your property.
Okay.
So I'm glad you're amenable to that. I think that if you're can accept that, I think we should just make that as the condition that you adjust where the deck is.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Hillary.
Could the leach field be moved closer to Cliff Road? I guess I'm wondering why the leach field is going to stay set back.
I can answer. I don't know, Dave, you guys.
Oh, you go ahead, Bob.
My initial answer was just I didn't want to make this more complicated necessarily in terms of more variances that are essential at this point. If this can be moved westward without it being, you know, more hurdles to hop through, I'm open to that notion. It just seemed to me that I was asking for a heck of a lot to begin with. So I was trying to leave some things left undisturbed. The distribution box, you know, the intent was to hook into the existing
Because you're
distribution
keeping
box.
the existing. I'm sorry, it's an existing leach field. You weren't planning on upgrading the leach field, just
Yeah.
putting.
Not at this point, yes.
Okay.
I mean, it's possible that, you know, once the new microfast is in, if, you know, as the coastal bank erodes, that pushing this inward onto the new space that's been made available with the extinguishing of the rights to the easement of Cliff Road, then that's an option. I wanted to limit, even for my neighbors and so forth, too much change was, in my mind, was not considered a good thing.
Are there other questions?
Yes, this is Mike. I know that you're not proposing this, but can we also include in the order of conditions no coastal beach structures?
You mean
What
like
is that?
stairs?
Coastal engineered structures on the beach, yes.
Of course.
Well, I wouldn't have a right to put anything on the beach, would I? I mean, that's.
I think it would be a Herculean effort to try and get something proposed to protect this on the beach.
I've tried that. It didn't go so well when the last
Right.
I made this. Hillary's finding humor in that. So thank you for your humor.
Well, because this has a new foundation, I would consider this new construction, even though it's the same old house, it's new construction. So
right,
that would impose some limitations.
Right, it is no longer a pre-1978 structure. It is a new construction.
We just have to state that in the record. That's for us.
Okay.
And this is not about your house, but I do think that the staircase that is just north of your property doesn't help beach erosion. Beach erosion.
Yeah, it's.
I talk to your neighbors about that.
Well, we'll be in front of you soon about a couple of new paper roads being exposed as well. We've got a whole bunch of stuff happening here, unfortunately. But I mean, the stairway, I guess, I mean, the alternative, unfortunately, I'd say, is that people use that access anyway, and the stairs at least prevent people clawing away at the coastal bank that's there. I'm not sure there's a good solution. When people go up and down at wintertime, you know, I've historically put the upper portion anyway, an extension ladder, just so people have something to climb on rather than having them just tear it apart. But it's it's not helping at all.
Debbie?
It sounds like you have to come back with a revised plan. Yes?
Yes, it does sound that way. That shows the deck moving and the 50 and the 100. John, you had a question, John Portman?
Yes. Yeah, I think I understand correctly that all material, debris and so forth between the new construction and the coastal bank will be removed. But I wanted to ask specifically, are there any wells or anything that would be left behind that need to be pulled before they go over the bank?
The only well I know of is my current well, which is down here
I
on
see
the
that.
southwest corner. And the only other structure that I'm aware of, because yes, there's a lot of wellheads, unfortunately, all along the beach here. There's something else that is like a vent pipe that is on the northeast or northwest corner. It's a PVC cap, and it's on the opposite. Actually, it's right about here on the property line. And I've never excavated it to try to find out exactly what it is, but it's not a wellhead. It's almost like it's a vent to the existing leach field. But nothing shows up on any of my as-builts to show me what it is.
That should be shown on the revised plan so that we can see that and see where it is.
Yeah,
Will do.
It's literally, let's see if I can, I mean, it's right underneath one of the bushes that fronts Cliff Road, and it actually, I can't even tell you. It may not even be on my, property. It's kind of out in here.
Huh.
Which, once again, I don't know. It's a greenish, I think 6-inch diameter PVC pipe with a white plastic cap, as I remember. That looks like it's a vent of some sort, but I couldn't tell you what. The as-built, we have the original Amphitryon, which was done in 2007. It's, they're claimed to be as-built, but having not excavated the sand on top of the units, I really don't know of how close to what they represent is what's there. I just know that we'll be removing all the structures that are to the east of the existing leach field.
Demi,
Yes.
so what's your timeline here? I mean, you've got tenants now. Is it waiting 2 weeks? Is that going to cause problems in terms of this, or you're all right with that?
Is that a question for me?
Yes.
Well, I've one other hurdle I have to hop over, which is I'm waiting. The piece of this section, which is the eastern half of Cliff Road, the extinguishing of that right now, I'm waiting in line with the Department of Interior's court system, which has been closed. And that's the last piece that I have to get the sign off to basically to have them rewrite the title to include this section of land. So I'm pretty sure that it would not be prudent on my part to move a house when I don't have that.
So we have time to, we'll certainly provide you with a revised plan with this information on it for 2 weeks from now.
Yeah,
Can I ask another question? Is there any value at looking at putting the dwelling on piers? Would that give you more time and cause less disturbance and allow more of the sand to move around on the site, thus protecting you for longer? Or are you absolutely 100% sure you need a full foundation in this location?
My feeling after seeing what Melinda's property had, which was I can't remember, 20 or so pilings that were in, the removal of those pilings, since they had to be vibrated in and vibrated out, in my mind is actually more destructive than a foundation where the footings just go down 3 feet into the ground. Because I mean, it turns the coastal bank into Swiss cheese. And that's my grave concern on it, Hillary.
Mm-hmm.
So I've kind of steered away from, it's almost my sense is the lower to the coastal or to the beach level the house can get, the more time you have, because we're only about 14 feet above mean high water. The footings will be 12 to 13 feet above mean high water, and that's advantageous in a lot of respects, just because it's got less distance to fall, if you will, if and when the erosion occurs. So it seems to be a safer option.
Yeah, we would condition it such that it be removed before you actually come close to falling.
What, really? You're going to put that into the code of?
Yeah.
Yes, I kind of understand that. Yes, that's part of the.
The other thought was when I was looking over the deck, it looked like there was an old leach pit that was becoming exposed on the coastal bank. I don't know if that's on your property or the neighboring property. but if you're gonna be out there, have a look at that too, please.
Is to the north?
Yeah, to the north.
There was an old, almost like cistern that
Yeah.
was right on the bank that's on the edge of Melinda's property. I don't know. I mean, it's on the other side of the Alden Paper Road.
Okay.
Because I'm literally, my property line stops right here. That's that's the southernmost edge of Alden Road as far as the paper road goes. And where you're talking is 40 or 50 feet to the north of.
But there was a lot of debris down on the
Oh, yeah.
bank. There was
Yeah,
a clock, a thermometer, plywood. I don't know who the rightful owner is, but
Anything that's to the north of me is not likely mine. If it's east of my property, then it's mine, and I need to deal with it.
yeah, but just have a look because I feel like I was standing on the deck looking east, not north.
Okay.
We should have a motion of continuance.
Yeah, do you want to come back in 2 weeks and you understand what we'd like to see on the plan?
Absolutely.
Just one more thing before we continue. Some type of revegetation plan.
It's in the packet. It's dune grass, I think. It's being proposed.
Is it in the small?
Last time I visited.
Very end of the narrative that he provided, he noted that American beach grass will be planted 1 foot on center to the northeast and south of the new foundation.
So it's beach grass.
Okay.
If am I correct? Last time I was visiting, John Portnoy, you had said that Rosa rugosa is now considered a invasive species, and that was not on the list of options any longer.
Yeah, it's not native.
Is that still true? Okay. I didn't know if there's others that have recently come onto a list of non-native that also needs to be kept off, I guess.
I think considering the wind-blown sand that you get here, it's probably a healthy environment for the beach grass, and it will probably do well. I think the erosion is the thing that's not controllable.
Okay.
So is there anything else before we have a motion to continue this?
I move that we continue this for 2 weeks. Our next meeting,
September 16th.
September 16th.
Is there a second?
Second, Mike.
All right, we need a voice vote. Leon?
Yes.
John Kumbler?
Yes.
John Portnoy?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Ben Fairbank?
Yes.
Mike Fisher?
Yes.
And I say yes. Did I get everyone? Okay. So you're all set. We expect to see your new plan when you come back.
Sounds great.
I'll get it in. When do you need the new plan by, Hillary?
Next Wednesday, please.
Very good.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your willingness to hear us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with the rest of your appeals.
Yeah. Yeah, the first step of a very long journey, but thank you. I appreciate it. So I'll give you guys control back. You don't have to see my screen anymore.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks a lot, peeps. We'll see you soon.
Okay, the last hearing is Kelb 3187 State Highway, map 13, parcel 69, notice of intent, shed, fence replacement, outdoor shower, repair maintenance to main structure, removal of knotweed, and revegetate with native species, driveway extension, and propane pad. I think, Mr. Kelb, we were down to a very short list of items. You want to address those for us so that we can proceed through this relatively
yes.
quickly?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, okay, so one of the discussions we had was moving the silt fence to along the resource, that bordering vegetation area, which I did. That's on the, it's a light, I was kind of running out of colors, but it's a light lavender color that you can see kind of along the the wetland edge. So I think that was the first concern we had. And then with the propane tanks, so I did speak with Marcy Oil. They were the company that I talked to about putting in the pad. And I guess apparently they're dealing with something very similar up in Provincetown right now. So I guess what happens is the pad itself, it has these clips that are sunk into the cement pad, but they legally have to be 6 inches from the edge. So the pad would have to be increased to a 45-inch square area. And then it would have to, so it is moved like 5 feet, I think, from the original spot on the site plan. And I increased the size, but you can see it's that light gray circle with the dark gray circle in the middle. And any questions on that? I guess apparently they said that the tank itself is held to the pad with some sort of strap. And they also said that the pad would be reinforced with like a metal mesh.
Thank you, Hillary.
Sure.
So yes, right there.
Okay, so you want to go on to the next point?
Yes, and then let's see. Hang on a second. So then the dumpster. So the dumpster that will be at the site, it's going to be it's a towable dump trailer. And it's 15 yards, it's 7.5 feet by 14.5 feet. It'll remain on the site for 1 month, and there'll be a fabric. It has like a little fabric sheet that goes over the top of the debris that we would put over daily. And that is on the site map. It's a little olive green square with an X on it. You can see it. It's parked in the driveway.
Oh, right here, over the leach field.
Yes.
Got it.
Any questions there? Okay. Then as far as the outdoor shower, so I made some phone calls to the septic designers that did the septic back in January, and I think they're pretty busy with dealing with all of their projects that they have now. But I did happen to get a hold of one of their engineers yesterday or the day before, and we talked about a number of different options and locations for the outdoor shower. They said that they were aware of that 5 foot adjusted groundwater level, and that was for like the actual, for the leach fields that they have, that we have at the site. But he wasn't necessarily aware of any actual regulations as far as dealing with like the outdoor shower, the gray water. So if what the alternative design that I included is to have a water or a gray water. It's a recycling filter that would be added next to where the outdoor shower is. So all the water from the outdoor shower would go into the basin. It would be gravity fed into this aqua to use gray water recycling area. So it's a 4-stage progressive filters. It's 6 filters altogether. And then once the water is processed through that, it would then come out of an outflow, and then it would be directed into the either it can be directed into a dry well, or it can be you can add like they have a little like sump pump, and that can be, you can pump the gray water to be used in an irrigation system, which apparently I was looking in Massachusetts is one of the, I never really knew a lot about these things until I started looking all of it up, but Massachusetts is one of the states that I guess is, that does this. So, I mean, those were the two ideal options. But if neither of those, I mean, they would have to be, I would assume they would have to be actually drawn up and engineered by the septic company. But when I talked with Matt, he said that if the regulations state that there has to be a 5-foot adjusted groundwater elevation, that the only option for this particular site is having the outdoor shower pumped directly into the septic. And because the leach field, the bottom of the leach field is 5.1 feet. So it's just barely high, and and it's up on this huge hill. So the leach field is just barely past the adjusted groundwater level. So I guess my question to you is that what you want, essentially? The aqua to use filtration systems, they're designed apparently for this type of application. It's just the only water that would be flowing into the this would be just the shower. There's not going to be any laundry detergents or anything like that, or any kitchen water. All of that goes through the septic. Now this would only be the outdoor shower itself. And but it seems like a really great system, and the company prides itself on how clear this gray water supposedly comes out.
Ron, will you be living in this house yourself, or do you rent it?
No, I live here.
Okay.
I mean, the outdoor shower, the reason why I really want to push for, I mean, one, I know that it's not necessarily a determining factor for you guys, but I have very sensitive skin. So all the products that I've been using organic, all natural, toiletry products and everything for, 15 years. So I have all fragrance-free shampoos and biodegradable soaps. So, the outdoor shower, it's not necessarily something that, that I'm going to be going in here and doing like a full wash down. I mean, this is more, you go for a swim at the beach at the end of the day, or you go to the pond and you're kind of coming home and rinsing yourself off and then going to bed, and then in the morning when you wake up and you're showering in the morning, that, that would all be done in the bathroom and inside. So it just seemed like, it just seemed like if this water filtration system was able to process this gray water to the point where it can be used in an irrigation system for a garden, that that displacement would be offset, I guess, is kind of mentally what I was thinking. But like I said, if it has to be a 5-foot adjusted groundwater level, then it has to be pumped into the septic, and there would have to be a little roof over the actual outdoor shower itself, which would just be, we would just essentially be extending the same pitch of the roof that would go across. It would be the same footprint as the outdoor shower itself, and then the gutter would just be extended on that side so that it would would all feed into that same dry well on the south side of the house.
Wouldn't that be easier, Ron, than to the expense of this system?
Well, I mean, ideally, the idea too of the outdoor shower is also to help with reducing the amount of water that's being processed through the septic, because all the gray water that's coming out of this outdoor shower would, if it's piped into the septic, it's going to be mixing with all of the black water, and then all of that has to essentially go through its process to make its way to the leach field. So I mean, ideally, I like the idea. I mean, I would prefer, I guess, the idea of doing, I don't mind spending the money. I mean, the filter, it's like, it's like $800 or something. I don't mind spending the extra money to, to put in a filtration system, to put in a filter that would be able to process the gray water more, so that you would have, less contaminants and things that would be going into the groundwater. But I don't ideally love the idea of having it. I mean, it would be easier in theory, but I don't necessarily like the idea of it being pumped into the septic itself. I just feel like there's more there's more possibilities for, for complications.
Why would that be any more than your indoor shower?
Well, because the thing with the outdoor shower is, is in theory, if leaves or debris were to enter the drains, I mean, they would be, or, well, I guess if there's a little roof there, but any storm water and things like that, if there were anything going into the catch basin, everything is going to be siphoned directly into the pipes into the septic. So, if all of those things, if there's these Metallo filters that are catching all of that, then these Metallo filters would be able to capture all of those things, and it works out really well because they recommend having them cleaned every 3 to 4 months, which is exactly the season that you would be using them. So the Metallo filters would be, they would be taken out, and then those would be cleaned. You could clean those in the in the shower, and you would be able to rinse, and all of that can be processed through the septic itself. But but those filters would be there to catch any extra debris. I mean, ideally, I don't want to do a roof on the outdoor shower, but if it's pumped into the septic, it's apparently is a requirement. So, I kind of like I just like the idea, part of the concept of an outdoor shower is feeling outdoors and not really confined in a box.
I see.
But it depends on, in the end, it really depends on how you guys feel about it and what your regulations allow. I tried to look some stuff up online to see, and it gets really complicated quick. And so the question is I guess there's a lot of, this gray water, I think there's a lot of kind of controversy on how much it's impacting the areas. And I don't know, it just seemed like there weren't a lot of necessary regulations. Different areas, determine it or classify it differently. So I do have there is a diagram that I put together with it where you can see how the water kind of flows through the drain in the platform in the outdoor shower, and then flows through the recycling center and then down. I mean, I don't mind if it, if it goes into the dry well, or if it's recycled into an irrigation system. The only garden that I really have, that's not even a real garden, but is the area that's in front of the house where those rhododendrons were. We cut them down. I mean, they're growing back, but that's the only essential, garden on the property. So it wouldn't make sense to recycle it into an irrigation system anywhere else, except that, that spot there. But both of those are possibilities. I did do a third alternative analysis to have the outdoor shower attached to the shed and then have it fed into that dry well, but that created a number of other issues because it's still a foot too low for that adjusted groundwater level. So it wouldn't, that's just kind of off the table essentially.
I think you're working to do what you can. I think in the long run, not for your project, but in the future, we may in fact require all outdoor showers this close to the wetland to have something other than just regular dry wells. But given the fact that that requirement hasn't been made, and you're willing to do the gray water recycling system, and that's your preference, I think we should support it.
I agree.
Are there any other comments? Could I have a motion then?
I move that we accept the proposal as presented.
Is there a second?
I second, Ben.
All right, we need a voice vote. Leon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
John Kumbler?
Yes.
John Portnoy?
Yes.
Michael,
I abstain because the trust isn't a butter.
Barbara?
Are we voting on the entire project at this point?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
And I vote yes.
And
You all-
I will agree to be supervisor because I live nearby.
Okay, great.
And
Okay, you're all set.
everyone sign that NOI form too for this project. Chris didn't put the, what projects these forms are for, but make sure you do one of these.
Right.
Debbie, I
Yes.
got there was an envelope with a bunch of blank forms. You know, that was given to us.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I didn't.
Oh.
get one. These were in the packets. Just
It was after each application, there was a form.
mhm.
You
Right.
just did a determination of applicability and an order of conditions. So you only need to sign and return 2 forms to us.
Form.
Okay, that's fine. 2 forms are be signed and returned.
Great.
Okay.
Hillary,
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're
You're
welcome.
Take care.
Hillary, I don't have the one for the first one, the
Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh.
Just
It
a
doesn't
blank-
seem to be in my packet.
A blank RDA form should be there.
It's
We
called
have 2, we only have 2 of those forms. Do you have 2 forms?
I've got 3. Let's see, 1, 2.
I got 2. And we only need to sign and return 2.
We
Right?
need 1 determination of applicability and 1 order of conditions signed.
Okay, an order of conditions. All right. Can do.
All right. Then, is there anything else that anyone needs to cover tonight? I know we rushed through the business meeting portion after the long discussion on boats.
The only thing I can think of is meeting minutes. Meeting minutes.
From last time.
Okay, so do you want to reopen the business meeting? John has edited the minutes. Those are the minutes of last meeting. Does anyone else have comments on the
I
minute?
think I found a few typos. I may have sent those along too. Chris, did you get my typos?
Yes.
Okay. So I didn't change anything substantially. I just fixed some typos.
All right. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, John.
All right, we need a voice vote. How do you vote? Barbara?
Yes.
Leon?
Yes.
John?
So there may have been a question on those minutes, John. Did you have a question that?
I might have. I don't have, I'm not looking at them now and I can't remember.
Yeah, there may have been something unresolved on those minutes.
Well, then let's just leave them till next time.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll look at it.
All right, is there anything else that we need to address?
We had some mail.
Can you just hang on after everyone goes so I can talk to you for a couple quick minutes and I will shut off the recording?
Sure.
Some mail, but nothing of substance that we haven't discussed before. We did get something from the attorney, Amy, saying that she filed defendant's opposition to plaintiff's motion to strike, which she told us she was going to do. So Amy did her filing for us on that Holland Trust. And that's the only substantial mail. I mean, we've seen some of the rest of this stuff, so.
Okay. Anything else from anyone else? Then we just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Barbara,
Yes.
Leon,
Yes.
John Kumbler,
Yes.
John Portnoy,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Debbie, yes. All right. then you guys are all free to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hillary,
Yes.
Hillary, can I tell you that what I mentioned before?
Yes.
See this?
Yeah, but I gotta write it down. STAX.
Right, STAX or AK, I can't tell which. And the number is GB 2626-206.
GB 2626. GB 2626
-2006.
2006. Okay.
All the rest is in Chinese, so I can't tell you.
All right, but he likes that model.
He says if you go to, when the cases start climbing on the Cape, if you go to a store or go inside anywhere, you have to have this on and
Okay.
glasses or face shields or something.
That along with a shield?
Well, if you're gonna go, but if you have glasses and this, because this
Yeah,
does,
okay. I'm gonna just get that.
okay.
Yeah,
And
thank
it's a respirator,
Okay, got it.
the filter inside.
Got it. Thank you, John.
And then when you get it, I'll tell you how to change your filters.
Okay, good. Let me get it first.
Okay.
Thank you.
Amazon. Hate to deal with